Hey everybody, Sean for the Good Dog with our TGD Q&A pop-up Q&A. I can't even remember the title. Anyways, Jen DuPont from the Good Dog Training and Rehabilitation page on Facebook is struggling with prong collar work with her, I think 95 pound pittie, and basically pulling through prong collar work to the point where he's got like irritation on his neck. She's asking about whether she's using the right gauge, whether she's, maybe there's a different kind of prong collar, different gauge that might be more helpful, techniques that she might be able to utilize, or should she go to the e-collar? She's nervous about going to the e-collar because she's not seeing results like she was hoping to with the prong collar. Here's the deal. Try and cover a couple things really quick. So the only two sizes that we recommend are the 2.25 Herm Sprenger, which is often called the small, and then the medium Herm Sprenger, which is the 3.0. So it's 2.25 millimeter Herm Sprenger small for dogs like 30 pounds and under. And then for dogs that are over that, then I would go with the Herm Sprenger 3.0 medium. And the reason is because with the heavier dogs, the slightly thicker gauge will give you a better pop with less give in the collar. Now, some trainers will tell you with the smaller 2.25 that you get more prong links per, like square inch on your dog's neck. That may be true, but I haven't found that to be beneficial in actually working with heavier dogs. It feels like the prong gives too much. So, and in kind of contrast to what I saw with some of the other comments below about like if it was from like a big box store or some off-brand or something like that, that it might be flimsy. I've actually found that to be the opposite. The off-brand prong collars are typically way thicker, way more firm, have no give in them, and oftentimes have sharp edges. They may have started to round them more recently, but typically they're way too thick. They're like dinosaur prong collars, T-Rex style. They've got, they're just like very hard to squeeze the links in. You don't need anything, even for a big dog, you don't need anything bigger than a 3.0 millimeter medium Herm Sprenger. That's the biggest we use on any dog that comes through. We get a Great Dane, 3.0. We get a Giant Rottie, 3.0. We get God knows what else, Mastiff, it's gonna be a 3.0. Anything really small, 2.25. So those would be the prong collar recommendations. I also have prong collar videos that you can check out that show the actual sizing and where they should be. They should be snug, they should be high up on the neck, should have a carabiner on the back to make sure that it's going from the dead ring to the flat buckle for backup safety. You can search all that out, or I'll try and link it up down below here. That all said, there are dogs that are super drivey, super aroused by the environment, and will push through even good prong collar training. So that's why we use prong and e-collar for all of our dog walks. So we start off the very first session, prong collar, e-collar on, and the prong collar is really not the primary tool. The prong collar is just there to give guidance, directional guidance and information to the dog what to do with the e-collar stem. So my recommendation would be, if you're struggling with your dog on prong collar, then e-collar would be a much better choice for you along with the prong collar. Now, if you're alarmed, like you said, because the prong collar is not working, you can kind of let that go, because that's exactly why I'm recommending the e-collar. It's not that, well, if the prong's not working, what's going to happen with the e-collar? It's actually the reverse. If the prong's not working, the e-collar is probably going to be much better for your dog. You can work a dog at lower levels, at a less kind of like impacting, that's the wrong wording, less, you can be softer. That's the best way to put it. You can be softer with a dog with an e-collar and a prong collar than you can be with a really drivey dog with a prong collar alone, because you have to like go firmer with those pops and do 180s and things that are going to be firmer and maybe harsher on the dog if the dog's really drivey, and the dog will just push through it. So if you're struggling, go to e-collar and prong. I'll post up my prong collar videos, and I'll post up the e-collar heel video, which shows prong collar properly fitted, and then it shows the e-collar along with it properly fitted, and then it shows how we work through the beginning of the process and get that started. So that's where I would go. I wouldn't be so concerned about the going for a thicker gauge. That's not going to help you unless you're using like a really tiny, like if you're using a 2.25 on your 90-pound pittie, yes, that could be problematic. But anything, I'm so not into the big box store prong collars. Like I said, they tend to be like the ends are cut just sharp, they're hard on the dog, and they're really, really tense with no give. And the actual prong mechanism, the pop mechanism, the way the prong actually like cinches, not so great. So that's my recommendation. I'll link up a bunch of stuff below. Like I said, go to Ecollar heel with the prong collar. And if you're going to use Ecollar, then the prong collar, whatever you're using, doesn't really matter, because you're not going to be using it as the primary tool, like I said. So even a 2.25, which is what we send all of our dogs home on, except for rare exceptions, because they're going to be using the E-collar primarily, and the prong collar is just there for backup, a little bit of light information. But if I was to only have the prong collar, and I was working with a 90-pound pittie, then I would be on a 3.0. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, you're going to have to get to work. Dogs like that with like a lot of drive and happy to turn off like tools and just like push through, you got your work cut out for you. And there are definitely ways to get through it. These tools should help. Get off the prong solo and get to the E-collar and prong, and I think you find yourself a much better situation. All right, thanks.